All right.
Hello, Anne Marie.
Go.
Hello, Dennis.
Hey, Rob, Dan Marie. Damn, it worked this time.
Hello.
Hey, that's right. We don't always see you on video despite your technical guru.
I'm telling you. There we go. We get some more light in the room.
Maybe that's the problem. It's still a little
Still a
dark.
little dark, but that's okay.
Let's see. Better or worse?
Yeah, don't make much difference. Just a glare in the background.
It just has to be dark, that's all.
Yep.
Okay, my work here is done.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Linda.
Well, hello there. How are you?
Hey, Linda.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, Anne Marie's muted, that's why.
Goodbye.
See you
Call
later.
me if you need me.
I texted Lynn. Wait a minute, let me see what she said. Sunday morning, yeah, that'll work.
Okay. All right.
If I need you, I'll text you.
Yes, I'll be downstairs with my phone. Take these dead batteries. The dead battery pile.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, Dennis, how are you?
Good, thank you, good.
I hope you've been out. It's beautiful out.
Certainly is a gorgeous day.
Hello, Kevin.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
I want to ask how you are because I think you just told Dennis.
It's hard to be unhappy on a day like this, although I'm sure I could find a reason.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, how's everybody?
Good, and you?
Charlie?
Pretty good. Hi.
Hey, Charlie. We're still down a couple members, but we still got 1 minute.
Hello, everyone.
I hear you, but I don't see you.
That's a good thing. Let me check. There you go.
There you go.
Yep. Thank you, Dennis, for bringing that to my attention.
Okay.
We're missing Khalil.
And Jeremy.
And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. That's certainly a quorum. Let's go ahead and hope they can join. So let's call the meeting to order. We've got the committee minus Khalil and Jeremy. And we also have the pleasure of Anne Marie and Charlie. And among the attendees, we got a good group of attendees. I don't see any ex officio members on it. Yes, Ellen Lorraine is, I'm not sure she's ex officio, but anyway, she's always welcome. So, meeting has been called to order. Announcements. Jeremy has decided that he really doesn't have as much to contribute as he thought he would because he didn't realize we wouldn't be looking at Beach 1 and Beach 2. He doesn't live in the city. And so he's asked to be excused, and he's told Ted accordingly. Khalil, hello. Good, we're
Hello.
here.
Hi,
Rob.
So we're down to 6 members. That's my only announcement. Does anybody else have any? The next item on the agenda is our minutes. And I don't think we have any minutes prepared to review. We had a nice set of 3 meetings to review last time. This time we don't have December 2nd ready yet. So let's go on to item C1. Parking. The agenda item says parking on Cape Henlopen Drive and on the paper streets between Cape Henlopen Drive and Freeman Highway. That's a bit of an error. It should have said on the paper streets between Savannah Road and Freeman Highway. And Anne-Marie, maybe you can correct that for the next agenda, because that's a carryover item in case we don't get through with it today. Although we may get through it, and so we may not need to we can just drop it from the next agenda. So I think I may have said, I talked with Ted about what he meant by the charge that says consider parking on Cape Henlopen Drive. And what he was referring to was the paper streets, the 5 paper streets. And Charlie kindly took photos, and I sent you photos. And I think it's not hard to figure where they are. Shall we consider them in order? Anybody have a different idea? All right.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Our first street is Alaska, and that's actually the only peculiar one, I think, in that it is the sole access to a house that's one back from Cape Henlopen Drive. I'm not sure of the address of it, but in any case, I don't think that house can get through on the other side. The map seems to show a narrow strip of city land between that house and the next lot to the east, but I'm not sure that's accurate. And if it is, it's an awfully narrow slice. So I would think that whether or not we decide to facilitate public parking on Alaska, that we need to reserve a lane beside the house that's on Cape Henlopen Drive so that the house behind it can be reached. And Charlie, I don't have a good idea for how wide such a lane should be. Is that 10 feet, 11 feet?
Well, it depends on if you want to meet the code. I mean, 12 feet would be a minimum of a lane.
I'm talking about driveway.
I think 24.
Really the equivalent of a private.
That would be 12 feet.
Okay,
Mhm. Yeah.
Rob, can I ask you a question, please?
please, Ted.
About, all right, do I understand you to have described the right-of-way as one that tapers towards the rear of the right-of-way? Is that what you've described?
I'm not trying to, no. I think it's,
Okay,
I think it's a rectangle.
okay. All right, then I got that mixed up in my mind. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Rob, with regard to Alaska,
Yes,
I believe this has come up in discussions regarding the property. When I say next to it, I mean closer to Dairy Queen, if you will, that sort of side. And I
right.
think that that has to be considered as we're doing this, not only with regard to access to the house you've indicated, but I assume there's been some discussion whether that would be the primary access road for whatever might be done at that corner lot, at the corner of Cape Henlopen and Savannah. So that just might be something else which would factor and impact what we might do with that street.
The other thing,
Go ahead, Anne Marie.
I'm sorry. The other thing is that there are wetlands back there as you go further back along the right of way. So,
It floods all the time.
right.
As I noted in my email, there's I mean, all of those parcels are near the marsh and they flood. But I assume that somebody's going to the beach isn't going to be parking in a puddle, or if he is, then he knows he's going to step into a puddle when he gets out of his car. I'm not sure that that's something that we need to try to anticipate and not allow parking because it occasionally gets wet.
May I ask one more question?
Please.
Anne Marie, is it possible for you to do a screen share of this? Do you have this availability online?
I can. I haven't pulled anything up. I can pull something up unless, Charlie, do you already have something up?
Have the tax map up
Do you?
and Google Earth.
Okay.
You want me to share?
Why don't you
Yeah,
go
let me-
ahead
let me
and,
share.
yeah. Tell me if it doesn't let you.
No good yet. Still no.
Okay. Okay. It's not giving me the option to allow you to
Okay.
share. So I'll pull it up on my screen and share it.
Okay.
Thank
Just
you.
note-
Sorry
I
to
know-
slow up the conversation.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, Kevin, I think you made a good point in that the city had received a preliminary development plan for that corner property that you were talking about that did utilize Alaska Avenue as a street of access because the main entrance came in from that side. I think the plans have changed for that. I don't think that's moving forward at all, but your idea of considering that lot is still important, I think. And the other thing to remember about Alaska Avenue is that there's can't remember if it's 8 or 10 inch, I think it's 8-inch sewer main that runs through there that connects all of Cape Henlopen Drive to Pump Station 8 on American Legion Road. So it's a major trunk line of sewer, not that it'll affect parking all that much because that's all on the surface, obviously.
Would it affect parking at all, Charlie? I mean, is there a limit to the weight that can be borne over an 8-inch line?
No,
Okay.
no. Yeah, the only thing that might happen well into the future is if Cape Henlopen State Park grows per their 10-year master plan, that pipe might need to be upsized to handle all that flow, but even that's out quite a long time and might or might not happen.
Okay.
And Charlie, that sewer line runs across the front of that lot, is that correct?
No, it runs right down Alaska Avenue, goes through the wetlands and ties into American Legion Road. So it's left over
I
from a
see.
long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
Gotcha. Yeah, it comes off of Cape Henlopen Drive, but then runs parallel with Alaska Avenue all the way to American Legion.
I see. Okay, thank you. Interesting.
So
Huh.
with those two qualifications in mind, we don't know what's going to happen with that parcel. As I think everybody knows, the owner of the parcel has applied for rezoning back to commercial. And Henry, I think that's automatic, but the state code required a public hearing even though it was automatic.
Right. Ultimately, though, you guys will vote on it on Monday night.
Right.
Okay, what if we vote? Well, it doesn't matter. An academic question. So it's likely to become commercial again, but even so, then what DelDOT will allow as an access from that parcel to the street is a good question. And they may say you've got to go through Alaska, I guess.
Right.
So,
But for the purpose of our conversation, Rob, we're just talking about parking, and it doesn't mean like a permanent parking facility. It could just be 1 or 2 years worth of parking, correct?
that's my understanding.
Right.
That's what I assume the committee is looking at. So with those two qualifications,
Can you explain that point just so I make sure I understand? We're only looking at 1 or 2 years. Could you just, what does that mean?
I'm assuming that we're looking to facilitate parking for the public on city property.
No, I thought then there was a thing about over the next 1 or 2 years. I just wanted to understand what that was in reference to. I'm sorry, Rob. I didn't catch that.
I don't think it's mysterious, Kevin. We don't know how or when that property will be developed.
Oh, I see.
Right.
You meant with regard to that street. Okay, good.
Right.
Good.
That's all I was referencing. Yeah, thank you.
No, I just wanted to make sure I understood, Tim.
Sure. No. Yep.
So are there any ideas on the committee of what we should say to the council about Alaska Avenue?
Well, I'll jump in for a moment. We looked at this in the past in our last committee meeting, and it looks like there's a possibility of head-in parking on the west side of Alaska until there's a determination as to what's going to happen to that corner property.
And the west side, Dennis,
Would be the Savannah Road side.
Right.
So if you pulled in there, and you could probably head in park on the right-hand side if you pulled into Alaska off of Cape Henlopen Drive.
And keeping that driveway clear? Keeping the lane clear for the houses?
Yes, I think there's enough room. I haven't measured it, but I think there may be enough room to park head in and still there be a lane for people to access the two houses.
I see.
Would that be head in parallel to Cape Henlopen Drive?
Well, head in driving towards Savannah Road. If you drive into Alaska and you make a right-hand turn and head in parking, I think there might be room there for some cars.
Okay.
Yep.
Could Charlie just share with us a little information that if you do that sort of parking, are there any rules with regard to preserving the access for the property owner there, but also when you're backing out? You know, are there any rules that impact all of that? In other words, if you have like 6 or 7 parking spots lined up there, as following what Dennis was just sharing, you might be in a point where you're then sort of backing up down Alaska up onto Cape Henlopen to make a turn. Is that okay?
I'm not 100% following it, but we certainly wouldn't encourage people to have to back out on the Cape Henlopen Drive to get out of a parking space.
So
but if they are parked head in, they you would need a certain width aisleway behind them to be able to back out and get,
Turned
straight
around.
towards Cape Henlopen.
Charlie, wouldn't they back out into Alaska Avenue? I'm not talking about
Yeah,
along Cape Henlopen Drive. I'm talking about where you turn into Alaska
mhm.
and get down,
Yeah,
let's say you get down 20 feet and do head-in
Mhm.
parking or do parallel parking.
And all I was, I
Yeah.
wasn't just, Dennis, I was just trying to say, do you have to allow some room so that the car has the room to
Right.
turn around? So you're
Okay.
facing, leave Alaska.
You
Wanted to
do.
throw it out
Typically-
there for discussion.
Mhm. Typically, you do leave a pretty wide aisleway, like 24 feet of aisleway for a head-in parking space so people can back out and get out of the parking space.
If the,
Thank you, sir.
if the lot is 50 feet and we carve out 12 feet for the house, there's one back, at least 38. So it sounds as though Dennis's idea would have ample room for pulling off Cape Henlopen Drive and turning into a head-in space facing Savannah.
Excuse me. I believe 1 year, I think it was last year, there before, the owner was allowing cars to park on that lot and collecting so much for the day.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there would be a problem for cars to park on Alaska head-in.
That's the other idea. You're right, Linda. I don't know where the property line is that we might be encroaching on the corner lot.
Charlie, how close, what is the state of our knowledge of the meets and bounds?
We don't have the exact meets and bounds right now. I'd be working off whatever I could find through the tax maps.
So
But we do know
We
that
haven't-
the right-of-way is 50 feet wide, correct?
No,
No, oh, wait, Charlie, do we know if the right-of-way is 50 feet wide there?
I don't recall, Tim. I've been trying to pull stuff up on my screen, but I'm having a hard time doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't
okay.
recall if it's 50 or 40.
but one of
Okay.
the things that we've learned is that there is no 50-foot right-of-way that's consistent on the beach, period.
What we've been doing on the downtown parking committee is if we have ideas like we're talking about for Alaska Avenue, is I can put together a concept, which gives me a little time to think about it and look at the
Right.
right-of-way width and all the other considerations. And it's just a concept, and we'll bring it back to the next meeting for discussion. So, I mean, that's just something for the committee to think about.
along that line, Charlie, what would you recommend be done in order to make this area, whatever area we decide to suggest, hospitable to parking? Would it be, I mean, just putting down some gravel? Would there be any grading involved? What would be involved to mark spaces?
Every one of the paper streets will have some unique, natural features. But yeah, I think just gravel, stone, and timber, if you wanted to, parking bumpers to save on cost, or not. You could get away with not having those. But yeah, you don't need to do a whole lot. We gave Schley Avenue parking lot a little more structural integrity, but it's still just stone on the top, and that's what it is.
Would the timber serve to mark the spaces? So wherever there's a timber, there would be a space?
Yeah, similar to a concrete bumper, but they're a little less expensive and a little more. They look better in a natural setting, I think.
Would it be an idea when we have the parallel parking in front of the Children's Beach House or the yacht club? There's none of that takes place. They just park on what is there, the existing grass, and we're only talking about a couple months of the year, and maybe we could just line it if it's available without having to put all of those things in or go to any expense.
So we do have a comment in the chat that somebody who's seen a vehicle get stuck on paper streets. So off of Cape Henlopen. So, and then, the issue of backing out onto Cape Henlopen Drive would not be safe if you want to look at that. So I don't know if the issues are different on these as they're closer to the marsh than the other Paper Street areas, and certainly the Children's Beach House where it's not right on a wetland.
Okay, thank you, Emery. And I see that the chat also pointed out that backing out of any paper street would be dangerous, and I don't think that's what we're proposing. Backing out onto Cape Henlopen Drive.
Yeah.
I think that's not what we're considering, but the point that if the land is wet, you can dig it up pretty fast if you get stuck is a good one. Dennis, you were suggesting, if I heard you right, liming the area?
Put the lines of some sort. I don't think it's lime. I don't know what the streets department would consider, but they did put lines in front of the Children's Beach House and the yacht club. They didn't last that long, but they think they lasted long enough to get through the summer.
Right.
Yes, it did. Yes.
Anne Marie,
it
would you
was very helpful.
Anne Marie, would you go back to the street view of Alaska? Put that up, please. Okay, so that's it right there, this side of that white picket fence, correct?
Yes.
Right, and it looks like a good part of it has some sort of either gravel or paving surface there already. Would you agree?
I think that's correct.
Okay. Okay. So we're not looking at a lot of, purchase of stone to create a parking surface, it looks like.
On
I'll have
Alaska,
to walk that. Have to walk that site. I'll get out there and do that.
so
Excuse me, that strip of grass where that one mailbox is, that strip between Alaska and the parking lot, who does that belong to? Is that part of the paper street or is that part of the corner property? Yes, right in there.
I'm not sure, Linda. Does anybody know?
I think without a survey, we wouldn't be able to say for sure unless
Okay.
Charlie has better.
I would say at least part of it's in the right of way, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly where that property line is.
Okay. Thank you.
So, and one more question, Charlie. In order to mark off the driveway going back to the house that's one back, would timbers work there too, or would you not even want to do that?
I don't think I understand your question. What is it?
Well,
Say it again.
If we want to make it clear to cars that they shouldn't be parking in the part that we want to set aside as a driveway,
Okay, yeah.
how would we best do that?
Well, I guess I don't know that you'd be able to get parking into the grass area in between the existing driveway and the telephone pole that shows on that view without utilizing that driveway as part of the in and out.
I was
So
thinking, maybe I'm not being clear, but the driveway that would be right next to that white picket fence to enable the house behind it to have access. How would you mark that off?
the driveway itself,
The house that's one
I
back
mean,
needs access to
Mhm.
Cape Henlopen Drive.
yeah.
We're talking about a 12-foot wide lane that we would preserve for that purpose. Would you want to mark that lane in any way?
Well, like I said, I think that 12-foot lane would have to be part of any parking access discussion that you have for this paper street. So I don't know that you could eliminate people who want to park on Alaska Avenue from utilizing that driveway lane.
Right.
but you could somehow, I'd have to look at it a little closer. You could definitely make it so that the driveway right in front of his house isn't blocked off. You could definitely
Right.
do that.
That, I guess, is what I'm
And
concerned about.
Yeah, if that's what you're asking, you know, some kind of either flexible bollard or something yellow or a sign. I'd have to think about that a little bit, Rob, but I think there's ways that we could do that.
All right. Well, what I think I'm hearing is that we're interested in creating some parking, at least temporarily, on Alaska. And let me sketch out what we might ask Charlie to sketch out. And that is the head-in parking on the west side of Alaska, leaving unimpeded a 12-foot lane for the house that's one back to access Cape Henlopen Drive, and with potential timbers as parking bumpers and lines perhaps marking the parking spaces. Does that sound about what we've been talking about?
Works for me.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, then, Anne Marie, if you'll authorize Charlie to do that for the meeting, that would be appreciated.
You're muted, Anne Marie.
Okay, we're good.
Great. All right, we got one done. The next one's Maryland. Can you switch the view to Maryland, perhaps, Anne Marie? Right beyond that flower box.
Right.
Yep. Yes, there we
There
go.
you go.
Now, any thoughts on Maryland?
Let's keep in mind that where that pickup truck is parked, that's access to a garage. That's why we left it as a paper street, because it was access to the garage back behind that house.
And do you know what that garage is used for, Dennis?
Yes, they parked the cars in there.
Okay, I had heard they used it for storage, but
So does the right of way start where the stone starts?
Charlie?
I mean, I'm only guessing, but it looks like the property lines are, let's say, where the front of the truck is moving towards the trash cans, and then on the other side where the landscape wall is,
Right.
near the
Okay.
timbers.
Because you might be able to do some angled parking
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
or pull-in
Yeah.
parking in that area.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
these streets are going to be difficult for angled parking. You probably need to be head in for
Right.
every street, because they have to back out, and angle doesn't lend itself well to backing back out to the same street.
Right. Good point.
Then you have to turn around.
You're right.
And the city approved the building permits for these things, and that's why our first parking committee, we didn't change anything on these streets, because it was a city-approved access to their garage.
When you say city-approved access, you mean because they allowed a building permit to be given for the
That's correct. The same as
Yeah.
anywhere else on the beach.
Right. But similar to Alaska, you could have parking along the right of way without blocking access to the garage.
That's correct. Yep.
Would it make sense to ask Charlie to do a similar workup for this, for Maryland?
In this case, I'm thinking that driveway would be on the right side, and your parking would be like the truck is, head in on that side. So I think, I mean, I'll just throw this out there. The only hiccup that might come up later, not the only, but one of the hiccups that might come up later is that whoever lives in that yellow house to the left might not like people, just random people going to the beach parking right there so close to their house. But
They made
just a
that
thought.
they made that very clear in the past.
Yeah, but it is a
That's
right of way.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
It is.
Dennis, which of the two houses shown in the photo is the one with the garage? It's the
Where the pickup truck is on the left-hand side.
on the left-hand side. The yellow house doesn't have a garage in back, I don't think, does it?
And I'm not 100% sure on that one, Rob.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I can look at that. Yeah.
You would, Charlie. So same again, we'd want to protect the access to the garage or garages. And if it's two garages,
It's two.
one on each house?
No, it's two garages on the left-hand side. There's
Right. I meant for the, if there's a,
for the right-hand side. I'm not sure.
so Charlie, if you could look at that, and if there's not a garage that needs access through Maryland on the right-hand side, then if you might, with Anne Marie's consent, do the same kind of workup that you would for Alaska for Maryland.
Yep.
Any other thoughts on Maryland before we move on to Virginia? Hearing none. We're at Virginia. And I'm looking at photos of it, but Anne Marie is going to get us a Google Earth view.
That it?
There's a chat
Yeah.
from Robin, which makes a lot of sense.
I'm not sure I get the angle. What are we looking from or to?
You're standing,
back.
You're standing on Cape Henlopen Drive and looking straight back.
Got it.
Correct.
Got it.
Right.
Okay. And that, as we know, is a continuation of the Virginia Avenue that goes to the beach.
Correct.
This
Right.
one is ungraveled, except it looks like it's got some sand on it,
Right.
and but clear. And this might be, I think this is one of the two, the other being Alaska, where I saw some standing water when I took the pictures a few days ago.
Yeah.
So it might be.
I can help you on that. When we did the wetland delineation,
Yeah.
the wetland came pretty far up into Virginia. And also just past those trees on the west side or the right-hand side is
Uh-huh.
access to a garage.
Huh.
Not following. So what we're looking at, that sandy trail, is that
Yeah.
access to a garage?
That goes back to a garage on the right-hand side.
And is that a standalone garage or a garage that's part of the house?
I think it's part of the house. If you look at the overhead shot that I sent everyone, if you look at Virginia Avenue and right there where beneath the A is the driveway going into that garage, and it appears to be attached to the house.
Yes.
So this brings up an interesting question. As Charlie starts just, sharing some ideas on some possibilities, will he be in a position to actually be able to determine where the property lines are, where they begin and where they end? I think, Rob, you had a good term for that earlier, but because it would be really helpful to know in looking at these ideas, if we really understood what is the actual available property.
And the city has them on file with the building official. They have all the properties identified there. But I think you bring up a really good point, Kevin. We have to know where the right of way is on these streets before we start looking at what possibilities are.
So Charlie, I have a question. If we provide, some of these houses are relatively new and have pretty recent surveys. If we can provide you with the surveys that we have on the houses that are adjacent, to the degree that we have something current, would you be able to put that onto a map to determine then what the right of way would be without doing a full-blown survey?
It'll be close, but they always double check it by going out to find iron
Right.
pipes
Okay.
in the ground. So, I mean, that would definitely help me, but it wouldn't be definitive, I don't think, to do that.
Okay.
Anne Marie, if you pull your photo a little bit to the east, that would be towards the left. Yeah, keep going. A little bit farther. Okay, stop. Do you see those concrete block columns that are about 3 feet above grade across the front of the property? Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Those. I actually spoke to the people who live in this house several months ago, and they told me that those posts are right on the property line. Yeah, that's the demarc for the right of way. And what I don't know is the side lot line, going back down Virginia Avenue towards the trees in the back. I don't know about that side property line, but I know across the front that's what I was told.
Charlie,
And they use Virginia Avenue to access for parking. There was a car parked next to that house that they entered from Virginia Avenue earlier today and yesterday when I went by there.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Charlie, I wasn't too clear on your answer to Anne Marie's question. If she gave you a recent survey, and let's say that survey was properly marked with iron pins, how would you then go about confirming where those pins were?
You go out there and try to locate them with like a metal detector, or just, get a sense of where it is from the plan and just probe until you can find it, is how we always do it.
So that wouldn't require another formal survey.
Someone with a
No.
shovel.
Yeah, no, that's not a formal way of doing it, no.
Okay.
But I do think that before you make final decisions, you ought to know what the formal survey, right-of-way survey looks like.
Well, if you find the pins and we don't propose parking that goes over the line marked by the pins, how much safer can we ask to be?
Actually get a licensed surveyor to do it so that you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed.
Well, I'm not following, because presumably
I would recommend.
there already was a licensed surveyor who did the survey to put in the pins.
Well, not of the right of way though. I mean, I'm going to have one property on one side and one property on the other. So,
Right. If you got pins marking,
you still have the right of way all the way between. Look, I'm an engineer. I'm not a surveyor. I don't want to jump into their,
all right.
Expertise level.
All right, well, if you do us
I mean, for the concepts, I feel like I can give you enough to go by, and then we can button it up with a real survey if the committee decides to move forward on any particular street.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And Anne-Marie, it would help to have those drawings for the concepts if we can dig those out.
So,
Robin Davis
like
is
that-
on the meeting, so
Okay.
I'm sure he heard
Like-
that.
Okay, like that house that we're looking at right now, it may or may not have a recent survey because it's pretty old. The bigger houses that are newer, yeah, there's probably a recent survey.
And the surface, this may be the first of the streets that doesn't have any gravel or shell or anything to protect the land from being dug up by cars in damp weather. What would be would you go ahead and just let cars park even though it gets wet, or would you propose some kind of protection, some kind of stone?
Well, first let me say that when you bring in stone, there's always a cost associated with doing that.
Right.
This particular one, my first inclination would be to leave it the way it is and just maybe not go back too far with your parking. I think the wetlands probably encroach pretty far up there, it looks like to me. And
Do
from
we
what I
know
looked
how
on
far
Google
they
Earth.
go up? I think, Dennis, you referred to the wetland survey.
Yes.
Do you know where we would find that?
I have some information in my file, but there was a report done by a survey company did the delineation line. I have their report, but the wetlands comes pretty far into Virginia Avenue. I think Charlie's suggestion of leaving that one alone would probably be a real consideration. But it comes up pretty far, Rob.
It's so convenient to the beach. I mean, it's right across from Virginia Avenue.
Right.
It'd be a shame not to see whether anything could be provided here.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we see how far the wetlands do come up, and then make that.
I'll pull the report and I'll get back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have that in the office as well. And I actually, when I was in the office the other day, I pulled the report from the Property Implementation Committee that has all of those wetland delineations in it and put it on my round table, suspecting that perhaps somebody might need to get to it.
Very
So
insightful.
Is this, may I stop by there and get that, Anne Marie? Would that be okay?
sure.
Okay, thank you. It's on the round table in your office, right? Thank you.
And can you scan that, Jim? Is it scannable, Anne-Marie?
It is. It's a pretty fat file. We could, I mean, on Tuesday, we could ask Emily to scan it.
Let's do that.
Okay, I won't touch it then.
Any other thoughts on Virginia? So, Charlie, let's wait for the better knowledge of the wetlands.
Okay,
Ask you to do a concept on that.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
And then just make a note. All right. Any other thoughts on Virginia? We're on to North Carolina, I think. Yes.
Right.
Missing a house.
Yeah, you're right.
Can someone tell me when I'm close? Because I'm not.
That's it. That's it right there.
It's back.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Up to the right of that house. Yeah.
I think North Carolina is on the other side of that house, on the east side.
Right. I need to turn it around.
Yeah, you need to go up. That's it. Now turn it around.
It's okay.
There, yep. Good. So it's
Oh.
it's either behind those posts or it's
That's it.
beside them. I think the posts. Charlie's guess when I asked him was that the posts probably go into North Carolina.
Yeah, and I went out there again, Rob, and I still feel that way. I don't know who put those posts in, but my first gut reaction is that they put those in to not allow people to park there.
Right.
But they're nice green heart timber piles or posts.
Yeah.
I don't think the city did it, but I don't know for sure who did it.
I've never heard of the city doing that. They're pretty new, I think. So, what are the committee's thoughts on North Carolina?
I'd throw out Charlie do a concept on that after he knows better where the right of way is.
Hey, Anne Marie, can you swing that picture a little bit to the east? I think it is to the left. I just need to get my no, the other way, I think. Okay, stop. I just need to get my perspective correct. Okay. Jog my memory. All right. Thank you.
So I'm trying to keep up. We believe that there is a privately owned property that extends maybe not the entire length of the roped-in pilings, but at least a good portion of the roped-in pilings. Is that correct? So
Yeah.
that's correct.
I think most of, like that fence line that you see is for the big yellow house, is that property's property line. And
Okay, and then there's, go ahead.
Then whatever the width of the right of way is towards the signpost,
Right.
is however much right of way you have. So I actually think all those posts are in the right of way.
Okay, well, let's, what I was asking at, Charlie, is going the other way. Is the, on the other, where the fence, let's assume that the fence, for the purposes of the question, is the right of way towards Cape Henlopen Drive. But if you look to that fence next to the L house to the west, is that private property?
So,
No, that's North Carolina Avenue.
so there's a, can you guys see the chat? There's something in the
Yes.
chat, and it said
Yes.
the house to the left purchased the lot and erected the pilings.
Well, according to the overhead, it looks like North Carolina's on the other side of the big house.
So it's to the right?
Well, when you're looking at the house, it'd be on the left-hand side.
I know, but looking at the lot as we are right now, Linda, would it be to the left or to the right?
Looking at the lot, that looks like a privately owned lot, according to this, and then North Carolina would be on the other side of this yellow house. Excuse me, yellow house.
It's not though, Linda.
No, it can't be because there's that.
North Carolina is where the pilings are, or
Yeah, because the overhead does show a house, and you can see that there's pilings on the lot.
I'm pretty certain from the tax maps.
Does anybody else have the overhead?
No, not.
I do.
This house here, the yellow house is 24 Cape Henlopen Drive. And if you look at the tax maps, just to well, in this picture, to the right of 24 is North Carolina Avenue.
Right.
Open space.
What we don't know is how wide North Carolina Avenue is and where the right of way is. So I think before we go too far, we need to determine that.
I'm going to bring up the tax maps.
Thank you.
I think when that's going to, hold on, this is in my way. So that's Virginia. Is this is North Carolina here?
I don't know. Can you go to your?
I mean, this is a right of way.
No, it's the next one down between
It's
2 and 4.
right
20 and 22. Yeah, that right there.
there.
Which it looks like it's 50 feet from what, the front of those other two properties are
Right.
50, and it looks about the same.
well, somebody on the chat thinks that that at least part of that is a private lot that the homeowner who put up the pilings had bought. We need to confirm what the status of that is. Anne Marie, can you help with that?
Sure. I mean, all right. So because it is a right of way, it's not going to show property lines. It's possible that it was 24 here. Hold on. So that's Sean Gallagher. And then, okay, so these two properties before it are owned by the same person. So it looks like it, and I mean, one of the challenges that you have when you look at the tax maps with the aerial photography is it doesn't line up exactly.
Right.
So, but it does look like perhaps some of that area that has the pilings may be owned by that property owner, but
I stand corrected from whoever said that before. That does indicate that.
So Anne Marie, could you see whether when that lot was purchased, there was a survey done of that would help Charlie figure out where the pins are?
yes. So
Yeah, that would be helpful.
So I'm gonna Robin Davis. You know what? I'm gonna bring Robin Davis into the. He's because he's the one who looks at the surveys. So Robin, I've just pulled you in as a panelist. You can unmute yourself. Do you know? I mean, I don't know how recently. You might even remember the survey. Any thoughts?
I've been trying to run back and forth real fast and keep up with you. I put something in the chat about Virginia. I'll back up to Virginia. We do have a part of a survey. I don't know the date of it. For the house, the White House you were looking at on Virginia.
The cottage.
Yes.
Okay.
We do have one of those. Okay. Now going down to North Carolina.
I've got to step away for just a minute.
It looks like, again, as Anne Marie said, number 24 and 22 is owned by the same person.
Okay.
It looked like 22 might have had a house on it at one time and got knocked down. Okay. To the right.
But they are still two different lots. Is that correct? They haven't re-subdivided them, right?
Yes, they are two separate parcels, yes. They're to the house
right
at the right of those pilings along the road. That two-story house is number 18, Cape Henlopen Drive. We have a survey for that, but it looks like there is another part of a lot number 2. In this, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Yeah,
we can't see yours, but this.
Yeah, somewhere in that area.
And that,
and that's owned by someone. I don't know if it's part of. It doesn't look like it's part of 18, though. It doesn't look like it's part of that.
So number 2 is, as you're facing these parcels, and you're standing on Cape Henlopen Drive, number 2 is to the left. Is that correct? And number 4 is to the right. Do I have that correct?
What's left and right? I mean, east and west is better.
Oh, I agree. Well, I said standing on Cape Henlopen Drive. Okay, east and west. Number 2 is to the east, and number 4 is to the west. Is that correct?
No. Number 4 is to the east. And these are lot numbers, not address numbers. The address numbers are the small blue numbers. So
that's correct.
22 and 24 is to the east, and 20, which is lot 2, is to the west.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think if you move your map a little to the left,
east west.
Yeah.
To the west.
Okay, yeah. So 201 on the map is actually 18 Cape Henlopen Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Then the purple 2 is an empty lot. Then you have the alley where the cursor's at.
Robin,
the
this is
cursor is
Kevin.
is that North
This-
Carolina?
Yes.
Yes.
That's North Carolina,
Yes,
correct?
that's
Right there.
correct. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Robin, this is Kevin McGinnis. Quick question.
Yes, sir.
You have the house that's been there for a little bit. It's on. I think it's in the 2. Is that you just rolled out? What was the number on Cape Henlopen Drive address?
318.
Actually, number 18 would be the 201. Again,
201. Is
the
that the
lines don't
brand?
match up correctly.
Is 18 the brand new house?
So
Yes.
18 has his hand raised. Are you okay if I unmute him?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, yeah, they just finished it in September.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. von Lindenberg, you are unmuted.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
The 2.01 is number 18, 2 is number 20, and the tax map is shifted slightly. So what you're looking at here, the larger house, is actually number 2. And the paper street in question would be what you see as the sand,
Yeah.
number 100, within the box with the magenta number 2.
So you're saying that the property lines need to shift east of what we're seeing.
I believe
Yes.
property line shift west.
Yes, well,
Oh, west. Okay, I got you. Because you're 18,
Correct.
but you are not the house right next to the sand.
Correct.
Okay. That makes sense. So everything goes left.
Correct.
but I still think that
No.
the North Carolina Avenue right away is 50 feet wide.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
it probably includes that sandy area and some part of the, I guess call it grassy area
Right.
to the east.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
So the sand is part of the right of way and then a portion of, okay.
Yeah.
You might find that the right of way is from the edge of those new wooden pilings with the ropes somewhere.
Yeah, you might be right. Yep.
In sand.
Yep. Good point. Yep. You're right.
And I'm sorry, Mr. von Lindenberg, can you identify yourself for the record? Janine,
Yeah.
who's going to be doing the minutes, is not with us today. So
My name is Chris von Lindenberg, the property owner of 18 Cape Henlopen Drive, which would be the vacant lot in the illustration view that we're looking at here today. Right there.
Right there. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Is that the vacant lot that has the pilings in front of it, or?
No.
Okay.
there's a building on it now, right?
Yes. It's a finished building now.
So Anne Marie, go back to the edge of where those pilings are up by North Carolina, because thanks for clarifying that.
So
And because because then if you look back in there, that kind of, I noticed this today when I was out there. It's that sandy rock area to the right, the white, is pretty well utilized in landscape. So it's going to change the approach that we take, I guess, or at least the consideration.
Charlie, what will you need in order to do a concept for this one? But obviously the property line is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I really wouldn't need anything more than what I need for the other ones, which is just an idea of the right of way, where it is. In this case, just for the committee's consideration is that, you know, the house to the right of this picture, to the west on this picture, a lot of their amenities infringe into the right of way. So it's just, you know, we could go in there and eliminate all that and create head-in parking like we're talking about doing on the other ones. It's
Right.
just going to be different from the way it looks now.
Right.
But it is a relatively new house. So I would say, you know, when we, like on the other part of Lewis Beach where we've talked about encroachments,
Yep.
we've tried to
what
really
we have,
address
yep.
the newer ones that, you know, I mean, this house would have had a survey to know where their property line was.
So Charlie, if you feel comfortable enough that you have a pretty good idea of where the right of way is, if you would do a concept, Anne Marie, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, one to go on the streets, and then we'll call it a day and hit the agenda item C2 next time.
So, is this it?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay.
Am I in the right place, Charlie?
It's just before the Georgia Avenue that goes toward the beach. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I see Georgia Avenue up on the
So,
left there.
George is farther up.
yeah,
Keep
George is
going.
up here.
Keep going.
Well,
So
what
this
about
is
South
Georgia.
Carolina? I thought we were doing South Carolina next.
Right. So is that here?
I think it's on the right-hand side right there.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
it.
I think that's South Carolina.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, I'll do this too.
Okay.
Is it this right here?
I believe.
Okay.
Can you do a little higher around? Yeah, because the other would be Georgia. Where the 7.01 is, I believe, is Georgia. And then if you go west between those two houses, I think that's South Carolina there, right there.
Right.
All right, any thoughts from the committee on it?
To be
This is-
consistent, I'd say Charlie, do one there too. We need to know what we're talking about.
Yep.
So it's this.
I'll say it again because I don't think it was made clear before. If Charlie's making a rendering, will he be also asked to make sure, to the degree possible, he can identify where the property's lines are and incorporate that into his rendering?
Well, I think
There seems to have been some confusion during this call about where things are. So I think that would be very helpful if you were looking at a rendering.
Good idea.
Well, this house to the left, the brown one, or that color, the colored one, the stucco one, that's a fairly new home. So I would expect that Robin would have in the files, you know, the site plan for that. Correct, Robin? Is that a reasonable expectation?
Tim, wouldn't that be the east side?
That's correct. The east side.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good.
all right. Well, let me see if I
But
can.
to maybe relieve Kevin a little bit, we'll do our best to collect the surveys that are available and identify those property corners and of the right of way. If there's a problem, I'll just let the committee know.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Rob,
Yeah.
before we call it a day, I have a question about property across Cape Henlopen Avenue near lot 2. If Anne Marie could bring that up real quickly, where I think it's Georgia Avenue. I think it's across the street. Yeah, there we go. So lot 2, directly east of that is, you know, it looks like environmental areas. But right there,
Yep.
Now I think Dennis raised this a while back, but it seems to me that right there where the cursor is, has that ever been explored for additional parking there? I mean, I suspect there'd be a lot of environmental concerns, but there's also, obviously, we have a public need here as well. It doesn't seem like it would take up, you know, change the character of that area at all. It would seem to me like a logical place to add additional parking.
I had no idea that was city-owned land right there. I mean, that it was, oh, wait a minute. You're talking about the whole environmental area, carving off a piece of it for parking?
Exactly.
Got it.
Got it. And again, I totally recognize there'll be a lot of environmental concerns that may be valid, or perhaps if it's not, maybe it's not going to disturb much habitat or anything. It just seems like there's a lot of land there. Lot 2, I mean, the public lot 2 isn't that big. I mean, if you kind of transpose that over a little bit, or even just 30, 40 spaces, it doesn't seem like it would take up a lot. There's nothing across the street but Freeman Highway. But again, I'm sure it's protected in some ways, or I don't know how that is designated.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's a good idea to think about. I'm not sure. Dennis, did you ever look at that with the prior committee?
No, but what we did do, Anne Marie, if you could go back to where the Virginia Avenue is on the beach, right there. If you could put your cursor on the green right there. We did talk to DENREC about increasing that parking lot and using that area. And DENREC said we could do that as long as whatever sand we removed, we put on the beach. But the decision was made not to pursue that because the restroom and the beach area, whether or not it would handle that many additional people. So I think it's the same consideration. We talked to DENREC, if you go back to beach 2 there on the right-hand corner, that's something to consider, and talk to DENREC to see if that could be done. And if you could do that, maybe you wouldn't have to disturb the paper streets on the other side of Cape Henlopen Drive.
Well, let's look at that. Anne Marie, whom at DENREC would we talk to about that?
Tom Powell, or Mike Powell, isn't it?
Mike Powell, yeah.
Or Jennifer.
Yeah, okay, well, shoreline management then.
I'm just asking the question because I don't know, is how packed does beach parking lot number 2 get even on, say, the 4th of July? Is it packed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. On a busy weekend, they're all packed. On a typical day, beach 1 fills up long before beach 2 fills up. One of the things we saw this summer with the capacity limits on Cape Henlopen State Park that we don't typically see was a lot of parking on the shoulders of Cape Henlopen, where we have not restricted it as no parking, but it's never been considered parking. There was a lot of on-street parking there this summer that was kind of not what we were accustomed to.
Are you referring to the area in front of Cape Shores? Anne Marie?
Yes.
That, I think, that parking, when I saw cars parked there, and there were several days when there was a lot of parking there, they parked beyond the bike lane, so they didn't get into the bike lane, and within the right-of-way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, that's a state road, so it's DELDOT's to say, but I didn't see a problem with people parking there.
Some people did find it problematic. I don't know the reasons people saw it problematic, but we did get some negative comments about the parking in those locations.
Is it fair to say that's DELDOT's problem? Or does DelDOT listen to us enough that it becomes our problem too?
I think it becomes our problem because it's not designated no parking or parking, and unless it interferes with the traffic flow, DelDOT's probably not going to weigh in on it.
Right.
If we're okay with it, then I think status quo is fine. If the city has an issue with it, then I think the city would need to raise it with DelDOT and determine how we proceed.
Is that something that we as a committee want to address? Or is it something that will just work itself out for now? Any thoughts?
I kind of think that that would work itself out for now.
Okay, I think I see people parking there and nobody's stopping them or ticketing them, so maybe.
And it's not blocking your line of sight, correct? Those cars being parked there, Rob?
Nope.
You can come in and out of the community safely?
Yep.
Okay.
Are there other things we can agree to today, Rob, so that we could pursue Khalil's idea and maybe have something to consider later?
Can you ask me the first part of that again, Kevin? I didn't quite catch
Well,
it.
I just want to make sure if I understood correctly, there was a little confusion about who we needed to ask and exactly what we needed to ask once we figured out who it was about expanding Lot 2 per Khalil's idea. And I just wanted to make sure we had clarified what are the assignments so we could pursue that idea, what needed to be done and who would be doing it.
I'm planning to call Mike or Jennifer and ask what DENREC would think if we used part of the city land there to expand parking for Beach 2.
Great.
I hope that Charlie will go ahead with his concepts for 4 of the 5 streets, not including Virginia, until we understand the wetland line better.
Okay.
Yeah, Robin Lester just put a chat up there, and he talked about either on the west side or the east side of that parking lot at Beach 2. So there's consideration for either one or the other. I don't think we want to do both.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but and it's the committee's decision, but do you really want to do that? I mean, do you really want to pave over what's, pretty pristine dune area? But that's your call.
I
No,
seem to think I recall. Go
I
ahead.
I certainly don't want to harm any, environmental habitat or any ecosystem. There's just a lot of land there. And I don't know the exact nature of the ecosystem there. And if anything would be destroyed, if there would be, serious environmental harm, I totally understand that. I was just offering that up as just a talking point, an option to take a look at.
It's
Sure.
it's well worth it. Following up.
Yep.
And I'll take that. Anne-Marie, unless you want to, but I'd welcome the opportunity to talk to Mike again.
That's fine. If you want to call him, that's fine. If you want me to, I could do it. It's up to you.
Okay, I'll plan on it. If I can't reach him, I'll ask you to follow up. Let's talk about the next meeting date. We've got December 15th already nailed down. Can we talk about one beyond that?
Sure.
Does anybody have an appetite for the week preceding Christmas, the 21st to 23rd? And does anybody have an appetite not to meet?
I would prefer not to.
I'm available.
I'm available.
Linda, what did you say?
I'm not really available.
You're not.
Please, no.
Okay. Anybody else not available?
I'm available, but I think we ought to defer till after Christmas.
All right. You're
So
probably.
the week between Christmas and New Year's.
After the first of the year.
Oh, that's 2 weeks. Huh. Okay.
All right.
Rob, do we know what we will be doing on the next meeting?
Yes, we do. It's in the agenda. The agenda's already been posted, Kevin.
No, I know. I just wanted to make sure, given that some things were taken off today, other things were not done today are being added on. I just wanted to make sure we sort of knew the priority, because I think one of the next topics was a fairly could be wasn't permits one of the next topics?
I think permits is the third one I had. Let me see. I think that we're planning to talk about whether we should ask to survey the rights of way on the canal side of Cedar. And we were going to consider the criteria for a policy. And then we were going to look at permits. I think that's the sequence we had. Did you want to change that around?
No, I just wanted to make sure I understood. I mean, and all I'm trying to do is just to make sure we're adequately prepared for when the issues come up. So today we just did C1. So the next meeting on your agenda would start with C2, what is currently C2 and C3?
Well, I think what we'll do is revisit C1 to see how Charlie stands and anything to report from Mike Powell. And then I'll move quickly on to C2.
Okay. And do we think we'll be getting to C3 that day?
I would think so. I don't know how long a discussion we'll need on C2. I think it's kind of an up or down question, but that's up to the committee. Now we can always switch permits and policy around because I expect policy will take a while. And I know we want to get to permits. Any thoughts on that?
No. I have nothing to offer.
All right. Then hearing none, we'll just keep it the way it is. And let's go to the first week in January. We're looking at anything wrong with January 4th at 6 p.m.
Can we do it earlier?
I'd rather not. I'm trying to allow people who work to attend.
Thank you.
We can do it later.
So that'd be Monday the 4th is what you're suggesting, Rob?
How about 5?
Which 6 o'clock is a pretty standard meeting time for a lot of the committees. And 6 will also incent us to end it quickly. So let me suggest 6. And is the 4th good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fine.
Fine with me.
Fine.
Anybody not good for the 4th?
No,
All right.
it's good.
The meeting after the 15th of December will be the 4th of January.
Right.
Really looking ahead on permits in particular, I think that's something you have written about.
Correct.
So I would hope that you would help us take the lead on that.
I will indeed. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Is there a motion? Is there anything else?
Nope.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
I hear a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you to the participants, to the attendees also.
See you next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
You too.
You too,
Bye.
Tim.